This is Gravik Stonehollow of the Guild of Ambassadors of Lumia. Last time on this Eutharian thread.
As I approach, I take the butt of my baguette and I chuck it at him.
Amazing.
Because the whistling identifies itself for you almost immediately as what appears to be a hunk of stone covered in oil and fire. And it crashes into the building directly behind you with an explosive thud. Specifically, the chamber of the princess, who for the last several years, I'm going to be deliberately vague as to just how many of those years have passed for the moment, has been lying in state in a special chamber of the keep and is currently being guarded by two members of an honor guard that has stood there for generations. Why don't we go ahead and start? Mama Strange, will you tell us who you are playing and describe her for us?
So, Grutha Calatur is a very tall person in very shiny armor. And if you look closely at her, you can see the uh, moderately prominent fangs of her half-orc heritage. She would be standing at an at ease posture, but still very military. Looks very serious and is probably composing poetry in her head because that's what she does because nothing happens. We've been guarding the princess for a couple of years here after her aunt passed on the duty and nothing ever happens. So we're composing poetry.
And along with Brutha, she has a companion. Fluffy, will you tell us who you're playing and describe her for us?
Sure. So next to Grutha is a incredibly tall woman, kind of a pale blue, almost fur-ish textured skin, elongated ears that kind of flap out to the side, shoulder length hair, black with like streaks of pink in it. She is a incredibly tall firbolg in a set of also probably less shiny armor, breastplate, pauldrons, uh, gauntlets, greaves, but then like leather in between for mobility. Kind of strapped to her back is a really large looking flail. She seems a little twitchy this morning, even um, before the situation started happening. There's just something, a feeling of like something not being right. And instead of her normal morning routine of like going out and maybe cleaning up some of the things on the outskirts of Dawnsharbour, like she usually likes to do in the morning, she decided to go right to the keep and has just been kind of doing her best to not listen to the intrusive thoughts.
Wonderful. So the whistling is not quite audible at Tide Runner's Keep. It's far enough inland that the sound of the missiles themselves is not super audible. The explosions of the impacts, however, are, and it winds up shaking very much most of the city. The shouts and screams of townsfolk rise, and it does not take more than maybe 2 or 3 minutes from the first shuddering boom heard at the keep for most of the guard to be up in arms and start trying to move people out of the palace and to whatever safe locations they might deem fit. Two of the palace guard stop by your chamber, and one of them will look at Grutha. Grutha, Siofra, we something's happening. You gotta go.
We will take the princess to below safe.
I mean, she's not going anywhere. I don't think anybody's gonna come and take her, but something's happening over at the docks. We're trying to get everybody to safety because we can start hearing some people starting to panic in town square.
Right.
I would try and get to safety before
Is she
you worry about Sleeping Beauty here.
is the princess sealed in, or is it just kind of like open
So there
air?
is it's an open air thing and it is accessible. One of the biggest duties of the guard is essentially making sure that tourists don't, you know, go too close to where she
No
is.
touchy. No
Yeah,
touchy.
exactly. Um, because she is still breathing, like
Mhm.
she for all appearances appears to be having a really nice long sleep.
Right. Then Shifa is going to turn to the princess. If you don't already have a sore neck by now, this isn't going to help. I'm going to throw her over my shoulder.
Yep. Grutha would help with that. Actually, Grutha might beat you to it, but
Um,
So
we'll
between
see.
the two of you,
yep.
you up and you up and pick her up. Um, where are
Yeah.
you headed?
Um, so to be entirely honest, I don't think we should be following the other guards out of here. If there's an attack, which it sounds like there's going to be, our best bet is going to be going separately. Anybody invading would go right after a large crowd.
There's got to be a safe place that we can go. Maybe down below ground. I'm not sure.
There's a few passages in the castle we could take. Leads underground. I'd recommend taking her there.
Sounds good. I will follow you.
Right.
All right. So as you are heading down underground and taking some of those passages that have indeed been built into the castle since the sewer system was sort of erected in the first place, uh, it's probably maybe 10 or 15 minutes after the first of the booms was heard. Uh, Leah, will you introduce your character and describe her for us as she's about to wake up?
I wonder how sore my neck actually is. Uh, I am Princess Fia. Um, the name in our world as well as theirs means wildness and respect, so that should give you a bit of a clue as to her personality, or at least what was wanted for her. Um, she is, by all appearances, she is a teenager. Uh, Somewhere between like 13 and 17. Um, do I know how long in character I've been sleeping for? Okay, cool. Just making sure.
It
Uh,
feels like maybe a night.
oh, cool. She's got uh longer silvery blonde hair, um, and just green eyes. I think a little bit like a little bit like a younger Siri from The Witcher. She's got a fairly athletic build. I mean, she's still a not mature human by all appearances teenager, so she's not exactly a bodybuilder over here. But she's fit. You can tell that she's not just like sitting on her butt in the library. Um, One thing that I need clarity on is it feels like a night, but have I physically like Has my hair been growing? Are my clothes out of date?
Your clothes are probably out of date. The hair and other body functions and the rest has been like suspended animation, so you don't have
Okay.
any muscle atrophy or anything like that. It's just thank you, magic.
Less. Okay, cool. So I was like, if I was Rapunzel tripping over everything right now, that would be awful. Um, okay, yeah, that's all you can see from this moment.
So you are Grutha and Shafra are probably most of the way through the passage to the sewers. It is a well-hewn stone passageway, wide enough for probably 2 or 3 people to walk down. Um, the stairs are shallow enough that it's not a super steep descent. It is winding, but it's not a particularly difficult trip. There are wall sconces along the way. Um, and despite the fact that it is going down, in and around the river delta that Dawnsharbour is built on, it's watertight. It's not dank. It's not dreary in that sense. It's very well constructed. But nevertheless, Princess, you will wake up on the shoulder of one of your guards.
I would say it'd
Uh,
probably be Shifra just because she can carry things a
Yeah.
lot easier.
cool. All things considered, I would not immediately. I would recognize what they were wearing as far as armor, but I would not recognize the individual. Is that
Yes.
okay?
The armor is probably going to still have the Dawnsharbour crest on it that has been there since your time. Um, the the actual design of the armor has doubtless changed.
Mhm.
So it isn't, oh, this is the bog standard guard armor that I'm used to, but all of the heraldry is much the same.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So I'm sure I wake up with only the tiniest bit of a start. Uh, it would have been a much more gentle wake up call, I'm sure, had I not been. Um, so just a little bit of a start, but I quickly try to bring it under control. Clearly, I know something is going on, and I do not want to alert my potential captor that I have immediately woken up as to not turn this into an even worse situation. Um, but as I look down through almost closed eyes, uh, I see the crest and I certainly hear some sort of disturbance, not from us, but from
Yeah,
everything
the
else.
the echoing of explosions and impacts throughout the city is felt even this far north of where the docks are. It
Mm,
appears it feels like the city is being bombarded probably all the way as far east as the temple.
wow. Okay. Uh, okay. I take all of this in. I make the judgment that, well, even if I am being kidnapped, it seems like there's something worse going on. So I take as deep of a breath as I can, and I say, my loyal guard, let me use my feet."
All right, all right, all right. Wow, this is a lot to take in. I'm gonna set her down. First off, you don't need to be so formal. Shifra's fine.
Thank God. Okay.
Um, there's a lot to take in right now. I don't have time to process it. So, how are you feeling?
I'm fine. I'm surprised I slept through getting picked up. And what's going on? Are my people safe?
We don't know yet, Your Highness. We're working on keeping you safe right now.
Sh- Understood and appreciated. I don't know. Do you know
I am
what's? I I I have so many questions, but I want to go.
we we do as well, Your Highness.
Okay.
I
Where?
am Grutha.
Grutha, Sifra, thank you. Just thank you. Where are we going? Are we just going to hide out this
Where
violence?
probably the best thing to do would be getting out of the city. There have been several siege weapons, I don't know, attacking the castle, and probably some sort of invasion. And I think the best course of action would be getting out of the city.
I okay. 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 Uh I'm so confused. I'll for now I'll follow your lead.
Um, yeah, how long, like, she's been asleep for as long as, like, either of us remember, right?
Uh,
Oh, way
she has
longer.
been asleep for about 400 or 500 years.
All right.
Okay, so I'm like, where are my ants? Like,
Yeah, the everyone that Fia knew
hmm,
is long past. Even the elves and other long-lived heritages that are around on a fantasy world like this, like even they have passed on at this point.
okay. So
So
I do ask though, like, were my ants safe? Did everybody else
Darlin,
get out?
darling,
we
I there's no easy way to say this, so Grutha, maybe we should just tell her up front.
Tell me.
while we're moving, please, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, all right, to be entirely honest, what we're about to say is probably going to be a bit of a shock. So she's going to need time to quickly process before we keep running.
No, we run.
I
I'm going to fight you
Well,
on
listen,
this.
at the risk of sounding really inappropriate, I am okay with running considering this situation, but you know what? If I freeze, you have my full right and permission to scoop me up again and run with me because you both seem strong enough to do that.
All right.
A- a- Appreciated, Your Highness.
Listen, if
Um,
we're all first names here, Fia is fine. I know you won't do that, but Fia is fine.
all right, Fia.
Clearly getting slightly frustrated at how they're tiptoeing.
Yeah, no. They're all dead. You've been asleep for hundreds of years.
We're not sure of the eventual fate of your ents. They left to try to fight the dragons, I believe, many hundreds of years ago. Generations of my family have guarded you in your sleep.
What is the last thing that Fia remembers specifically? Because I remember us talking about the
So she was in the audience chamber
right.
holding court with her mother's out of town,
Hmm.
and the she who walks on water
Yeah.
had declared that she clearly had woken up on the wrong side of the bed and needed a nap, and cast a spell, and then everything went dark.
But I distinctly remember that spell.
Mm-hmm. And in particular, you'll remember that the breaking clause of it was, "When I deign to set foot in this wretched place again."
So I just kind of like freeze and like I'm remembering and I'm thinking of all of this. And
Yeah.
I turn yeah, no, I turn to Sifra and
I pick her up. I give her uppies.
please give uppies. And as they are running and I am uppied, I have to myself, have to them, tell them what I remember.
Then getting out of the city's the best bet.
And that is where we will end our session for today. Please tune in next time for more adventures in this Utharian thread.